Rollins Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah.
I want to talk about that for just a second.
Sure.
Because that got dark.
Yeah.
That got really dark.
He's an awful person.
Yeah. Did you have a hard time playing that role?
No, just not because the AJ Weston is anything like me, but the only hard part of that character for me was how do you reconcile this ideologue, this guy who's going to get played by his boss. I totally got played by Adam Arkin's character, but he's a good father, and so like you want to hate this guy, but he's really good with his kids. So how do I reconcile that conflict and play both sides of that? And that's what Kurt Sutter, he wrote me after the whole thing was over. He said, that's what we all were worried you weren't going to be able to handle. But you defied all expectation. You nailed it. And that was the only challenging part. Otherwise, the character, as wretched as he is, he's kind of linear in that his idea is a white America, that's what you want. So if we eliminate the brown Americans or the brown people, that makes things better. So I get up every day and I just systematically wipe out brown people. Bang, bang, bang. Mm-hmm. And so in that, he just gets up and he does his job.
Very mechanical.
And I was at my office one day clacking away on some book no one will care about, and my manager calls me panting, out of breath, which means there's possible money. It got him very emotional. So he said, have you heard of Kurt Sutter? I said, of course. So, the Sons of Anarchy, The Shield, and he's amazing. He said, he wants to meet with you. I said, about what? He goes, I don't know, but here's the address. I said, when's the meeting? He goes like, get in your car and go. He's like 8 traffic lights from me. So I walk into this production building, which holds like the jail and the clubhouse. It's that big low ceilinged building they had. And I walk in. I said, "Hi, I'm Henry. I have a meeting with Kurt." And the nice lady said, "Yeah, at the end of the hall." So I walk in, and there's Kurt Sutter, nice guy. I said, "So, why am I here?" And he explains that they're building season 2. And we get into this conversation about this like really awful neo-Nazi killer, and we talked for about half an hour about neo-Nazi separatist militia groups, and I've been around those people quite a bit. They used to come to my shows. I've had these amazing debates with them and all of that. So I said, wow, really awful, this guy you're talking about. He goes, yeah, you want to be that guy? I said, yeah. When do I audition? It's not. This isn't an audition. I know you can do it. Do you want to do it? And I went, yeah. But in my mind, I didn't want to talk myself out of a job. But I wanted to ask him, Kurt, when you think, neo-Nazi killer of brown-skinned people, why did you get me on the phone? Like, what is it about me and what I've done? Like, neo-Nazi, awful dreg of society. Get Henry. Like, I didn't want to ask. And I just said thank you and ran to my Subaru Outback before he could change his mind. And months later, I'm on set. And It was like, if I had ever worked with an actor I didn't like or who was a drag, I would never tell you, because that's talking out of class, but I would never mention them. Mm-hmm. And so if I do talk about actors, it's only because I had a really good time with them. Mm-hmm. There wasn't one person on that cast who wasn't great. Like, not only talented, but hilarious, so friendly. Like, on the first day of shooting, I think every single cast member, down to the last one, came up and said, "Hey, Henry, I am introduction. We're so happy you're here. Like, everyone's really excited. If there's anything you need, you let me know." I couldn't have been made to feel more welcome. And it's a tough day of shooting. Basically, I get beaten up by Charlie Hunnam all day. Mm-hmm. And, you try that for 5 hours when you start missing the cue, like, ow! It was such a good time. And sadly, my character, all bad guys have to go. And I must say, I drove away from that set, not jealous, but really admiring where that cast was. Because the show's going to be huge. Mm-hmm. and they're going to get like another 6 or 7 seasons of steady work. And I really wished I could have been one of them. I drove away going, wow, you guys are going to have the best damn time. And I bet they did. And the show went on and on and on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's too bad because there could have been a longer life. We definitely could have made the audience hate you even more.
Yeah.
Before the end. But still, that moment when your character was there, it was a critical and pivotal moment. And it sounds like it possibly was written for you.
Well, I asked
Or
Kurt,
at least with you in mind.
I said, Kurt, why, how did you come to me? We got to talking at one point. He just said, because you're intense, and I know that you have the concentration to really make this guy terrifying but not typical. And I went, okay. And the main thing that made AJ Weston terrifying was just his restraint. He's just. You know how you've probably been in a fight or two in your life. The guy who's going to beat you up, he never walks over and says, I'm going to kick your ass. He just comes over and starts working on you. Mm-hmm. That's AJ Weston. Like, he is a very capable killer. He doesn't say, oh, I'm going to shoot you. You'll never know he walked into the room because you're too busy being dead. Mm-hmm. He just walks up and shoots you. Mm-hmm. That's him.
So, question. I talk to a lot of people in horror. Love talking to Kane Hodder, others who have played voracious, bloodthirsty killers in awfully bloody, wonderful movies. But then you talk to them in real life, and they're just calm, loving people, but they play these horrific things on screen. I've been told quite often that it's a lot of fun to play something you're not. Was it fun to play the character?
Yeah. You're like, how bad can we make this guy? How awful can we make what he represents be? How untypically scary can we make him? So he's not like, I'm the bad skinhead. He's like, it's going to be way worse than that. Like I got amazing mail. Like, Henry, man, I've been seeing your shows for 20 years, and what the hell? I'm like, it's called acting.
Exactly. I am an actor.
Yeah, and people said, like, what'd you tap into? I said, just people I've been around. So I've been around some really hardcore people in my life.
I was going to say, did you draw from that? Did you find some?
I've met some, like, real neo-Nazis. In the 80s, these guys would come to our shows and try to recruit. And you meet some of these guys, and they just, like, laugh in your face. They're just not afraid of anything. And they're crazy. Like, we're all a little crazy. That's how we got in this business. But it's the kind of crazy where they get in your head and you think about them for weeks and weeks afterwards. I knew this one skinhead guy. We used to have these weird debates outside of shows. He had this dent in his head from where the bullet had glanced off his head. And he just didn't care about anything. Like, he'll walk up and hit anybody, man, woman, boy, girl, child. You know, he'd eat your dog. I mean, he was just a stone cold psycho. And so whenever people say, oh, I'm crazy, you're like, okay. I've been around those people. I'm so glad you're not that.
Exactly. Wow.